targeted is the wrong word. It's more, I'm trying to think how I want to word it, the correct way to word it. I have a group of individuals in mind that I've recently become acquainted with, and we talk about like-minded things, and I've only been around these individuals in person in a physical same location a single time, but I had a lot of fun. It was a really cool event. I'll show you some video later on of what that was like, and I don't even know if I can call it an event. It was kind of more of an impromptu thing. Apparently various individuals in this group, it's I think like, I don't know, 10 or 20 people or so. So most of my interaction with them has been text, on chatting, just back and forth, and meeting up with them was a good time. And I'd never done something like that, and it was far from a rigid structure, so there was hardly any sort of a classroom type thing. And what we were doing is we went to a shooting range to shoot. And every time I've gone to a shooting range, not an outdoor type place, but an actual range, it's always been individual lanes. I've never been in the environment like I was at with these individuals, which was the same kind of large room that you might be familiar with or have seen in many ranges, where you've got, I don't know, imagine the scene from, see if you can find the picture from Silence of the Lambs where Jodie Foster is at the shooting range. It's like that, an FBI range, and you've got everybody's got their own little 4-foot-ish wide bay with a little shelf there, and you've got your targets, and you can send them down, and sometimes it's manual, a little crank, I suppose. Maybe back in the day, all the ones I've been used, it's a switch, and it sends it down there. After you clip your targets in, you shoot, you set it to 15 yards, 10 yards, whatever, you shoot, and you can bring it back. Okay, this is how well I've done. But it's very limited. There's no movement aside from maybe a slight amount of leaning, I guess. You're usually not supposed to draw from the holster. It's really just have your gun, aim down the lane, bang, 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 and that's it. It's not meant to replicate a real life scenario. There's no time where you're going to be in a situation needing to shoot back at somebody, because you should never be in a situation where you're the one instigating, or those instances should be few and far between, to say the least, or depending on your line of work, of course. But if you're just a regular person going about your day and you're not in law enforcement, there's no reason for you to be regularly drawing on people. Even if you're in law enforcement, that shouldn't be something that you're regularly doing. Military type stuff, engagements outside. And I don't know anything about this environment other than YouTube videos that I've watched, and I suppose some movie stuff, but most of the stuff that you see in movies, like 99.9% of it, is just Hollywood nonsense. They don't even have the sound of a suppressed or silenced rifle wrong. And before you fucking idiots come in like, it's not a silencer, it's a suppressor, it actually is a silencer. It doesn't fucking matter. We all know what we're talking about anyways. Who cares? That's not the important thing. Did you find it, the image? That's not it.
No, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but
there's an image of Jodie Foster in a shooting range. So if you just search Silence of the Lambs shooting range.
That is what I did.
Okay.
And here's one, but it's mostly just of her face. I haven't found her at a range, really.
Maybe I'm mistaken. I thought she was in a range. Maybe it's something else. Maybe I'm mistaken. All right, that one looks like she's outside.
Yeah, there was another picture of them being outside in that link that I sent you.
Okay.
So,
well, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. And the reason I'm mentioning all of this is if you just study stuff, book learning, and I'm putting YouTube videos in that book learning category, it isn't really going to do much of anything. I learned multiple things going to this little get-together that I didn't know. I really didn't. I mean, when it comes to gun enthusiasm, gun knowledge, I'm way super low, like down at the, what is it making noises, crackling?
Yeah, it's making noise.
Well, I've got to do that.
Crackling.
Oh, okay. I know almost nothing. I know the 4 rules about guns. The gun is always loaded. Always, always, always. No, it doesn't even matter if you're completely out of ammunition and you don't own it. The gun is always loaded. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Never point the weapon at anything that you're not willing to destroy. That's pretty obvious. And number 4 is be mindful, be aware of what is in front of your target. You're aiming at this watermelon. Is there anything in front of the watermelon? Is somebody running by right then? Point down, finger off the trigger. And what's behind the watermelon? That's important. So those are the kind of the 4 golden rules of gun safety. If you don't know those rules, if you haven't had them memorized, I can't say that you shouldn't use a rifle or a weapon at all, but you should know those things before you go out and you should know those things to be a responsible gun owner. But aside from that kind of thing and knowing how to make a gun go bang, I didn't know anything. I just gotten a sling for a weapon, and a guy was saying, "Oh, here's how to correctly hold that off to your side. You want the handle, the actual grip, pointed off this way." And I had done it wrong, and he explained why. I was like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense." And just real small things like that. That if you haven't gone and trained with anybody or done anything with somebody that knows these things, then you're probably not going to know. Even though I've watched dozens, probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of videos on gun stuff, I didn't know that one thing. But I had never seen it, had never mentioned it, never picked up on it. There was one time where I went to shoot and my magazine fell out of my pistol because I hadn't properly smacked it in there firmly enough. Just small things like that. It was, and besides all of that, the practical utility and the learning, it was fun going to a place and hanging out with other people that were doing the same stuff, same kind of thing. I was by far the least equipped of the group, not even remotely close. I had things that went bang, and that was about it. Whereas the other guys, or at least a couple of them, had way more kit. Plate carriers and belts and extra magazines out the wazoo, and I think one or two of them even had radios. Not that they were using them in this small area, but they could have if they wanted to. And I've seen them talking about other things that they've done where they do use the radios. So all that is really, it's cool. It's actually utilizing the stuff, and some people are like, oh, you're just LARPing. Hey, even if that's what it is, it's fun. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If at the very least it's building community and doing something with other people, like-minded people, that's really good. And which brings me around to kind of the core point of today's thing. And I'll get to Bitcoin here in a second, but I'm going to play this clip from this fella here over on the Prepared Homestead. I mean, he's talking about that very thing, building community.
And so that's what you do. You go out there and you figure out where there's needs in your area. And there's always needs. There's always needs. And unfortunately, most people, they look to the government to fulfill those needs. We don't want that. We want them to look into each other. And the government doesn't want that either, because that's dangerous for them. That's very, very dangerous. Maybe more so dangerous than anything else. It's more dangerous than people not caring about the currency. It's more dangerous than people, physically fighting in some kind of civil war revolution. If just people come together and realize how little they need the system, that's the most dangerous thing in the world for them. So
that point there that he made completely reshaped the way that I have heard the phrase become ungovernable. The way that I had heard that, I'm not sure how the people mean it when they say it. I imagine different people mean it in different ways. But the way that my filter had interpreted that message, become ungovernable, which is a common saying in the Bitcoin space, had been from a specific lens. And that lens, the filter that I had in place, was become John Wick. Become so badass. Become so based. Become V from V for Vendetta. Become Neo at the end of the Matrix. Become so weaponed, kitted out, so much Bitcoins it's that the government can't even touch you. That you're beyond Elon Musk. You are the Alpha Sigma Omega male. You are the Spartan among Spartans. Train harder than anybody else. Andrew Tate would look up to you as his god among gods, if that's even a thing that you would want. The guy's a fucking moron. He's got some good messages, but boy, that is one situation where I think throwing the man-child out with the bathwater would be a good idea. Like, really, what's the loss here? The guy's a clown. Anybody that kind of embodies that whole Dubai lifestyle is utterly despicable to me. Anyhow, that's the way that I had seen the become ungovernable, become so based that when the government shows up to your door, they're like, oh, shit. Did you know this is John Smith's store? Oh, we're so sorry, sir. Our apologies. Oh, my God. We made a major mistake. Please, let us polish your shoes. We will leave and go hassle somebody else. We didn't know that you were the most unmasked individual. Oh, holy crap. We didn't know it was you. That's how I used to see it. That's not how I see it anymore. And this changed in the last 72 hours. The way I see it now is learn skills and surround yourself with people that have complementary skills, because you can only do so much as a human, where you don't need the government anymore. It's unnecessary. They are at best an annoyance. Just a little mosquito that, whatever, get out of here. A fly that go away. You don't need them. So when you break a leg, you know a doctor. And he can set your leg. When you have a problem with your, I don't know, maybe you've got some homeless people sleeping on your, this is a real story. Okay, this is an actual story. I live in a part of the country where there are plenty of homeless people around. I could probably find one within 5 minutes. Pretty easily. Definitely within 10. And I could probably find a dozen if I spent half an hour and point out, just bang, bang, bang. Probably 2 dozen. Easily. No problem. And they're all over the place. They're like mold on the underside of an old futon mattress, which is actually something that happened to me one time. I had an old futon mattress and it smelled really funky in the room, and then the smell was growing and growing. I thought, well, what the heck is going on here? So my girlfriend at the time and I don't know what caused us to do this, but we flipped over the futon mattress in search of this. Maybe we were sniffing under the bed. I'm like, oh, God, this really seems to be coming from there. Flipped over the futon mattress and oh my God. And I don't know how it got there. Maybe we spilled a drink or something one night. I don't know, but there was moisture down there and the whole underside was covered in some funky, nasty mold. So we threw that away immediately and made our first large purchase as a couple, which was a bed at the time, which lasted us, I don't know, some years or something. Anyhow, I lost my train of thought. I was talking about beds, talking about mold. Hang on, let me figure. I'll find it. Mold. Talking about, what was it, Jackie?
You're talking about homeless people.
All right, homeless people. What about them?
How you could find one.
I can find them.
And I think you were starting this whole thing by saying there is a way for people to.
My story. Okay, so one way that you could try to deal with homeless people in a city is call some authorities. Call your government. Call up and say, hey, police, there are people I thought illegally camping on my property, on my private property. Depends on which city you're in, depends on what state you're in, depends on what part of the country you're in. They may or may not do something. Changing some setting here. There we go. Maybe that'll be better. But in certain parts of the country, even if the police want to do something, in my general opinion of police is, I think most of them, I want to believe that most of them are solid people that get into the force because they want to try and help out. That is what I want to believe. I don't know that I do believe that at this point, but that's what I want to believe. I don't know what to believe at this point, but a lot of them don't seem to take that path. Anyhow, let's say they wanted to help you out. Well, there's been a number of laws and regulations passed where police can't help you even if they wanted to. This is a all too common story across the U.S. right now, where somebody's got a problem with homeless people, squatters, whatever the case they may be, and because of reasons, DEI, woke, whatever, I don't know. Pick your flavor of the garbage Kool-Aid of the month, but something prevents the police, the authorities that be, from doing something. Okay, well, government isn't helping you there. Clearly, it's letting you down. Well, that happened here recently to a local business that I'm aware of. They had some stuff stolen. They were broken into, had some stuff stolen, and the owner knew that calling the police was not going to do anything. So he took matters into his own hands, and I don't know how he knew these guys. I don't know where he met them or found them or became aware of them, but, and I've heard this through other people, so I wasn't directly involved in this, but there was a couple of fellows, from what I understand, large Samoan individuals that, from what it sounds like, have some military, tactical, law enforcement, some kind of that realm of training. He said, hey, I was broken into, I had this stuff stolen, here's camera footage, I've got cameras, here is who they are, this is as much as I know. I don't want this ever to happen again. Those, I believe, 2 individuals tracked those guys down, found them, made them strip naked, give back everything that they had stolen, get rid of all of their drugs, destroy it right in front of them, grind it into the dirt, and then said, do not ever set foot on that block again, or it'll be the last block you ever set foot on, from what I understand. I don't know exactly what went down. Maybe that got embellished. Maybe it got, maybe other things were said. I don't know. This is me, the storyteller. The first fucking and only sentence that I have on my Twitter profile. Remember that when you watch these, please. So I'm adding my own salt and pepper here to make it a little bit more interesting to some degree. I don't know. But from what I understand, it was made in very clear terms that behavior was not to happen again. By all means, spread the word and maybe find some clothes to get your disgusting bits tidied up. From what I understand, that business has been left alone since then, and this happened a month or 2 ago. It's not government. Government didn't help there at all. Government didn't do anything. That individual in that ecosystem, in that sphere, was quite ungovernable. And not in the antagonistic way, in the pacifist way. You might say, well, I thought they were big Samoan guys with assault weapons and tactical training. That doesn't sound all that pacifist. I mean, in relation to the government. There was no drama. There was no involvement of the government. This was done completely outside of the government. This individual, this whole enterprise, all of this that went down was, in that instance, ungovernable, not requiring of the government. I mean, you could, I guess, if you wanted to be real pedantic here and make the argument, well, isn't that a little government in and of itself? Okay, what are we doing here? All right. My point to all of this section is that becoming ungovernable, I believe, should entail building a community. And within the Bitcoin ecosystem, that's not enough. Having a great currency, having a great money, it's not really currency, but having a great money, talking about currency problems, talking about devaluation and inflation, those are all great things. But that's just one aspect. And I know. The Bitcoiner's famous, one of many famous sayings, Bitcoin fixes this. And yes, if the entire US, entire world economy, global economy were to go to a Bitcoin, better yet, a hard money standard, and right now the Bitcoin is, as far as I know, the best hard money, then yes, it would fix a great deal of problems. Maybe all of them. Sure. But we're not there now. And this actually segues nicely into my next point. I was watching this podcast with Marty Bent and Tom Longo. They're all over the place. At this point, they're talking about the Bank of Japan, but then Tom kind of goes on this little side trail here, and I think what he says here is pretty spot on. Let me get myself out of the frame here.
We have it I don't want to be. I'm not trying to be cruel or mean or anything else here. I'm really not. I'm just a little frustrated with the state of commentary. Everybody wants a massive dramatic thing to happen, right? Japan is doing this. This clearly means that we're at the edge of a cliff and blah blah blah. And everything is a cliff. Everything is the end of the world, right? It's all in our everything is an REM song at this point, right? And I'm like, maybe it's not. Maybe
This is where I'm at. It's not. It isn't. I have heard this stupid fucking take, as far as I can tell, so many times. The first time I remember it happening was right before 2000, the year 2000. Oh my God, Y2K. For those of you that are old enough to remember what that worry was about, oh, we didn't foresee this happening. We didn't think long enough into the future when we were doing computers, and they're all going to reset and it's going to break everything. Everything's going to go bad. And I distinctly remember, because I had the thought so many times, because it kept on coming up so many times, and I heard about different programmers making $100 an hour. It's like, oh my goodness, computers are the thing to get into. You can make $100 an hour if you know how to go into a business and help their computers get fixed to not have this problem. And oh my, you can make so much money if you're into that. And how old would I have been at around that age? I would have been 12, 14, somewhere in that range as the news was coming around. And I remember thinking, like I said, multiple times, many times, this is not going to impact my life at all. I'll go to sleep on the night of the 1999, and I'll wake up and it'll be 2000, and my life will be zero different than it was a week ago. No different. There's not going to be chaos in the streets, and the lights don't turn on, and the water, there's lava coming out of the faucet, and there's cracks in the earth, and satellites falling out of the sky, and planes crashing, and pure mayhem. That's not going to happen. There's no way that's going to happen. It's not. Same fucking thing happened just recently. People are like, the solar flares. Oh my. Or a while, what was it, 2012? The Mayan calendar. Everybody wants to think that they're in the final chapter. There's a guy that I like. Let me find his channel. YouTube. I generally like him because I generally like a lot of this kind of stuff. 3 of 7 Project. This guy. He's an ex-Navy
Hey, what's
SEAL.
up, YouTube? A lot of you guys ask us what is...
He's an ex-Navy SEAL. He's got all sorts of different things, but he had a recent thing, the calm before the storm. And in this video,
Storm does
I'm not gonna play it. I'll play it. He's talking about how maybe you can feel it. Maybe you can feel it. I feel it too, and I know a lot of my brothers and sisters out there. We can feel there's something. We're on the edge of something. Somebody's been saying that fucking thing for the last 300 years. It's the same thing. AI this is going to happen. On the one hand, you've got people pushing for an ever brighter future, that what they deem as ever brighter future with utopian this and tech everything and AI and blah, 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 whatever. And then you've got other people going, no, we've got to go back. We've got to return to the Bible and you repent and go back to the way it was in the 1950s. And I understand it wasn't perfect then, but it was a sure hell of a lot better than it is now. By what metrics? Yeah. For some people, in some places, you point to certain things and it looks like the world's on fire and everything and the end is nigh and oh, look, immigration this and people there and blah, 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 fucking blah. But it's the same stupid fucking story depending on what lens you choose to look at it through every day, every year, every decade, every century. It's no fucking different. This time isn't the time, nor was it 50 years ago, nor will it be 50 years from now. I do not buy for a fucking second the whole fourth turning this. No, give me a break. I bet that whole fucking bullshit story could be absolutely debunked by somebody as stupid as me if you took 20 seconds of time to research different things. You could spin it in a completely different way. It's like, I remember my dad one time having a real laugh because of the number 666. And all these different people pointing to different things where you could find 666. And this thing that he was reading was pointing out all sorts of places that if you look at it through the right lens, oh, look at 666. And they pulled up examples like Barney the dinosaur, which was on TV at the time. If you take Barney and you do something and then you multiply it by like one of the kids' names, and then you add in the address of the PBS stations, and then you divide that, you get 666. It's a sign. Oh my God. Holy shit. Can you believe it? Barney is a sign of the devil. Oh. And it just gave up all sorts of different things. Like, did you know that looking at the ice cream ingredients of this thing, that the sixth letter, of the way that it's written is 666. Holy shit. There's 6 ingredients. It's 666. The Satan's everywhere. Yeah, if you want to look at it that way. You could probably do the same fucking thing. Guaranteed you could. Did you know that 7 is God's number? And now you look at the same ice cream. You do it this way, you do the math that way, and now it's God's ice cream. Oh, it's all fucking bullshit. It's people trying to spin you their stupid fucking story. Every time. The fourth turning is just some guys trying to sell a book. That's all it is. That's it. One of my favorite thinkers in the Bitcoin space let me down in a relatively large way recently. And I don't know if this is accurate. I don't know if I should feel let down, but in Preston Pish's maybe most recent podcast, he was talking to a guy by the name of John Perkins. And apparently, John Perkins down here apparently was an economic hitman. He either worked with or for the IMF, going around the world, setting up loans, as you've heard from Alex Gladstein and other people, to get nation states in debt, and then they're pilfered for their resources, and that whole thing. Maybe that's possible. But why? Let me find it here. If that's the case, where is that? Is this also apparently true? Let's just accept for a second that people can change. Yes, people can change. Absolutely. You could be a serial killer, a serial rapist, really bad person. That's inarguably a bad person. And you could have a change of heart and then go start helping people dig wells in rural parts of the world where they need clean water after doing some sort of ayahuasca trip, after I don't know how you got out of jail for being a serial rapist, but let's say you did. Yeah, sure, that can happen. There is a non-zero chance that could happen. But it seems a little odd, a little strange to me that this serial hitman, economic hitman guy is now here on the eomega.org workshop teachers. And here it says, John Perkins, one of the world's foremost authorities on shamanism and shape-shifting. What? I'm sorry, he's a foremost authority on shamanism. Okay, sure. And shape-shifting? Huh. Okay. Yeah, all right, goes on to talk about his book, Economic Confessions of an Economic Hitman, spent 70 weeks on the... Is it possible that the guy that also wrote The Secret History of the American Empire and also Hoodwinked and New Confessions of an Economic Hitman, have more confessioners, is it possible, Occam's razor here, that he just wanted to sell a book and found an angle? Maybe Alex Gladstein? Even in that podcast, there's a part, and it's the part that made me, it might sent my spider senses a tingling, and made me go, whoa, hang on. Where I'm, you know what? We're gonna edit here. I'm gonna find that part. I'm gonna, because it'll hit you a lot harder if I can actually show you what I'm talking about. Let's pause here. All right, I found it. Imagine for a second that somebody's talking to you about something that you're really knowledgeable in. That I don't know. Maybe it's Bitcoin. Maybe it's Pokemon cards, maybe it's scratching your ass, whatever the case is, you know a fair bit about subject X. And they ask you a question. They say, so let's use Bitcoin, for example. All right, I'm just getting into this and I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Why is it such a good idea for me to take my coins off of an exchange and get them stored with my private keys? I don't really understand what that is. Is it just because I don't want, like, I can't trust, or we can't trust, or maybe we could, but we shouldn't have to, the exchanges, and we just want to have, like, I want to be able to do that myself? Is that it? And you just go, yeah, that's you got it. That's it. Is there anything else you want to know about that? You pretty much you got it. Or would you have more to say on that? Would you have anything else to add? Anything? Because I imagine most Bitcoiners that are pretty well versed in the area would be able to go, yeah, that's more or less it. But the benefit, one of the major benefits of taking self-custody of your Bitcoin is, yes, the removal of the trust. But I don't know if it's a bigger issue or a better issue, but you having control of that means that you can do whatever it is that you want with it. It might not seem like that big of a distinction difference, but if you were to travel, for example, somewhere and you had memorized your seed words or your seed phrase, both, I guess, if you're doing the both thing, but the seed word, we'll just keep it simple, seed words, then you wouldn't even need that device. The Bitcoin isn't stored on the device, not really. The device is a way for you to access it and to sign transactions, etc. But you can lose the device. It can be destroyed and it's totally gone. And you can reinstantiate that same information by using a completely different device. It's like having your login information, your name and password to your Google or your Apple account. You can lose your phone. I can lose this phone. I go buy another one, type in my data, and there it is. It's all my apps, everything. It's like my phone never even went away in the first place. Same kind of thing there. You would have more to talk about. So let's jump over to what John Perkins here has to say. It doesn't really matter what Nico is asking here.
IMF was that backstop that would come in.
He's asking a question, and then watch John's response, who's supposedly well-versed in this arena.
Structure those loans and making sure that the Western lenders were always made whole on their loans, so then you could rinse, repeat over and over again and keep the country up to it.
Even John's body language here, when I was watching this, like, I don't know that he's truly tracking. And I'm wondering if Pish is wondering the same thing. Like, this guy's asking a pretty good, nuanced question, and I don't know that John is firing on all cylinders here.
It's eyeballs and debt.
Yeah, but you've described it very well, Nico. I don't know. Is there a more specific question? Right, you hit it right on the nail on the head. Right there.
I was more.
Everything about that there, it just seems a little bit awkward. It's like, oh yeah, let's just kind of, let's move on. You got it. Let's just have a quick chuckle about this.
Curious of, like, so the lenders and the IMF relationship, that they understand that the IMF is always going to step in, or in this type of scenario, and kind of how was that working relationship? It's fascinating from your seat of you're actually on the ground and we're just observing this from really your words.
Yeah, well, in these financial institutions, I know this is going to be the case, and before they make the loan, they probably check into the IMF.
And reiterate some of the same stuff that he's already been saying, and more or less kind of re-explains what Nico outlined there. I don't know that John is who he says he is, or I don't know that he's lied. I don't. It's just really weird to me. At the very least, that somebody was an economic hitman. According to Pish's description here, it says, John Perkins delves, boy, was this ChatGPT written, into his past as an economic hitman, explaining the mechanisms and impacts of his actions on global economies. He critiques the fiat system and its role in geopolitical strategies and debt creation. Perkins also explores the potential of Bitcoin and decentralized technologies, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But he's also a foremost authority on shamanism and, okay, that aside, shape-shifting? I don't know if you're not all up to speed on this, but werewolves aren't real. They're not a thing. The shapeshifters aren't a thing. I'm sure there's some of you out there like, well, what about the lizard people and the mole? And all right, okay, have fun. Yeah, okay, do whatever you want there. I don't know what it is about people and their inability to think about these things like this right here. Why you should embrace using cold water. Abe Murray says, no, I will not use cold water all the time. I will build a future of abundance and fix the problems in a way of living comfortable life for myself, everyone. This attitude is giving up. I will not give up. The thing that amuses me so much about that idea, this written by Allison Chu, my favorite part about that, the mental image that I get, just tickles me silly. As a family, a super woke, they're all masked up. They're still wearing masks, all of them around each other by themselves. They wear masks in the shower, cold showers, mind you. And they're doing everything that they can to reduce their energy. They definitely have electric cars because that uses less energy than an old petroleum-driven vehicle. No, they're dumb there. They have all brand new LED appliances and all the smartest of the smart technology, which obviously used a shit ton of resources to create, and the buildings and all the things that went into the factories that went into making those, and not to mention the mining for the rare minerals and metals that are required to build those things, and the batteries and the whole supply chain, blah 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 blah, the whole pencil idea. Pencil meaning it's not just a pencil and on its own sold to you by a guy at a store. That's not the full spectrum of things. It's the wood, it's the lead or the graphite, and the eraser and the metal and the ink to make the yellow coating of the pencil that's on the outside, and it's a whole huge array of things that goes into making this one pencil. And it's even true to an unimaginable degree for a whole entire smart home. But the thing that tickles me the most here is that family is doing everything that they can to save and be the most carbon neutral or negative family that they can on their block. And then some tech guy over at the Google, the ChatGPT, the Microsoft, Apple, whatever, is testing out some new AI thing, asks a single question, and that energy used to compute that one question eliminates and deletes all of the saving in whatever imagined carbon negative impact that the family had. Just one question. He goes, hey, ChatGPT, what underwear looks better on me today? These ones or those ones? And ChatGPT's like, ooh, you look good in the blue ones. All right, good stuff. Quick note on the AI thing. If it bothers you, if it annoys you, if it concerns you at all, I got a solution for you. Turn off the screen, set the phone aside, and walk outside. AI ain't there, but we're all in a simulation, Del. It's all AI. All right, well, then you're so far gone, then nothing I say will help you, and good luck. There's a lot of people that get mad in Bitcoin. I get upset at things. I get worked up. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that. Get mad, be mad. I don't give a shit. But be mad at the right stuff, for crying out loud. Holy fuck. Don't be mad at imagined fairy tales. Don't be mad at just nonsense. If somebody says on Twitter, did you know Ethereum is actually worth $10 million right now, and once the world wakes up, it will be the currency of our lifetime. Does that upset you? Or do you just think that person's an idiot? If somebody says, Craig Wright is actually Satoshi, if they typed it online, do you believe them? Where I work, somebody called in the other day and asked for a specific item, some dustpan, and then told me that some friend of a friend had written down that we had this thing. And I said, well, we don't. And the guy seemed very confused. He thought because he had a piece of paper that somebody had written, they have the thing that we did. Is it possible that your friend of a friend didn't know what he was talking about because he doesn't work here? I do. I don't know what to tell you. Just because your friend thinks that we have a thing doesn't mean that we have it. If I go into Bevmo, I'm like, do you have 1, 2, 3 drinks? And they're like, no, we don't have 1, 2, 3 drinks. Well, the guy on the street corner said you do. Okay. Well, we don't. Well, what the hell? The guy said you do. Like, what are we doing? What are we fucking doing here? You see this in Bitcoin so often. A headline pops up. These fucking idiots like Publord here don't take 2 seconds to read anything beyond 67% tax. That's all. He just goes, 67% tax. Tax bad. And yes, tax bad. I'm right there with you. I don't like taxes. Who does like taxes? Who enjoys paying taxes? I saw Phoenix Ammunition recently posted, here's why we pay taxes, to not be arrested. There you go. There you go. That's it. That's why most people pay taxes, is because they fucking have to, because the government is the only one that has the right to the monopoly on violence. That's what I was looking for. So Publord here is all butthurt about the 67% tax. And I said, because I'd read this other thing that seemed like a well thought out thing, this isn't what you're all making it seem like. Tax is bad? Yes, absolutely. But this isn't a 67% tax. Now, without going through this whole fucking thread here and reading a bunch of dumb shit, let me explain to you the way it works and the way that people smarter than me agreed, yes, that is how it works. You're in a tax bracket. Right now, you are. Whether you're the US or Canada or many other countries, you are in some tax bracket. If you make $0, you're totally homeless, you have no income, you're in the lowest tax bracket. If you make a bajillion, zillion Elon Musk dollars, you're in the highest tax bracket. And if you're in those upper echelons of socioeconomic stratosphere, then you've probably got some ways to mitigate that and pay other zero taxes because you know how to, and you've got attorneys and blah, blah, blah. Fine, whatever. We're not talking about that. If you're in different tiers of making money, you're in different tax bracket. That's just how it fucking works. That's just how it fucking is. Period. That's just a fact. The way this is gonna work, and the way that I understood it after reading more than a fucking stupid headline and getting all bent out of shape, is that you're in this tax bracket right now. You're in tax bracket 2. We'll say. We're just going to keep this real fucking ape-brain, total retard understanding. You're in tax bracket 2. You sell a house. The house is worth $500,000, which is more than the $250,000 capital gains tax gains in a year. All right? So now it's things above the 250. So we're going to say here, in this instance, 250 will now be looked at, and then 67% of that 250,000, which is something like, it leaves you with 82, whatever, it's 160 some odd thousand dollars. Oh gosh, I did this math the other day. Doesn't matter. It's some fucking number. All right. Now, does that number push you into a higher tax bracket? If yes, if you go from 2 to 3, you now owe the tier 3 taxes on your income. Okay? Does that understand? Do you get that? It isn't, oh, you made $250,000. We're going to tax you 67%, leaving you with $82,500. That is not what this is. That is not what this is. You sold a PSA 10 Gem Mint Black Lotus for, it's probably a lot more than this, but we'll say for $250,000. All right. You are going to walk away with 82.5K. And the other goes to the government. That is not how this works. That is not how this works. And people were getting mad at how it doesn't work. And like I said, be mad at taxes. Yeah, fine. Be fucking pissed off at taxes. Absolutely. But be mad at the right fucking thing, for crying out loud, as I said. So this ding dong, and this is, we're segueing into playing different games. You got to know what game you're playing. This guy thought he was playing one game, and I was playing a completely different game. So over here, I say, it's not what you're making it seem like, blah, blah, blah. And then this guy shows up, this fucking moron who is all about CASPA. We are all witness to a shit coins. Yeah, all right, buddy. Okay. So he's a shit coiner. So just let's start there, which I didn't realize until a little bit lower. I mean, pretty quick, but here it is. I don't think you get it. Increasing capital gains tax drives away investments in Canada, which affects your broke, lower-class ass more than the top tier, which can deduct their own all the way down to 0% tax. And somewhere else he said something about, oh, tell me that you don't make $250K a year without telling me. And I said, I don't. I never claimed to, and I don't think I've even made over 40 ever in my life. Like, I don't give a fuck. It's about quality of life. It's not about how much money you make, you dumb fuck. And I said, oh, you're a shitcoiner. Good, got it. Opinion discarded. You're an abject idiot. Have fun with being retarded. You blow your mouth with that? You blow your dad with that mouth? And it was at that point that I realized, oh, we're playing two completely different games. He's playing the game, from what I can tell. Maybe he was playing the same game that I was playing. In that case, we both won. I'll explain how in a moment. But from what it seemed like, he was playing the, I'm going to get you game. Watch this. I've got the fucking insult that'll get under your skin. Oh, yeah, I got it. But I don't play that game online. That game is stupid. I play a completely different game. The game I play is, can I make myself laugh? That's it. That's it. Can I make myself chuckle? Can I make myself do that by what I say? If I can, we're winning. We're winning. If other people find it funny too, hey, now we're really winning. But that's a bonus cherry on top down the road I don't even really care about. Cool, great, whatever. Number one, first and foremost, far and away, does it make me chuckle? So that's the game I'm playing. I said, only on Tuesdays, after I suck yours off, we sent you the videos. Did you like them? We can go all day long. You want to play Aristocrats? We can tell each other that joke, and there's a really good chance that I'm gonna get dirtier. I'm gonna go nastier. It's gonna get fucking rotten. I don't know. It's stupid to even try and play that game. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up the joke, The Aristocrats. Is it weird that your sister is also your mother? So it seems like he's still playing this game, and it's at that point that I was like, you know what? I'm done. This is stupid. We've already done this way too long. 2 tweets back and forth. This is stupid. Little background on me real quick. I grew up on 4chan. What I mean by that is my formative internet years were spent on 4chan. One of the most depraved things you can imagine. If you can imagine it, there's a really, really, really good chance I've seen it on B. I don't know what B is like these days. I don't know how much it's moderated. I don't know what stuff gets through, but 10, 15 odd years ago, the internet was a wild place, and there was stuff on there that I saw plenty of. I don't go there. I'll occasionally go to 4chan to ask a question or post a thing. Like I was enjoying an album recently. Let me find it. I think it's by the band Paradise. I think maybe my favorite album, actually. It doesn't have a bad song on it. Recto Verso. This album is phenomenal. I have listened to it so many times. There is not a bad song on this album. It is so goddamn good. It is the only album by this group. It was a one time. They disbanded after this. That was it. One album. One and done. It's so good. So good. Anyhow, I felt like sharing, so I went to the music board on 4chan and shared it. So other than that, I don't really go there. Point here is that, buddy, this means nothing. Sticks and stones, all of that. Like, I could not fucking care less about this. I've already got my chuckle. So let me at this point I thought, can I leave and win in 2 ways? Can I leave by making myself chuckle? That's win number 1. But can I? Is there a way? Could I get under his skin? And so I tried. Don't know if it worked. Don't really care, because it made me chuckle, and that's all that really matters in the end. I said we could go all day, and I would be dumber for it, and you would be a little more intelligent for reading something I wrote. I'll save myself the pain and avoid schooling you. Consider this a free trial. Next time, you'll have to pay for my lessons. And I understand that came across very much like he says here. Oh, wow, you less than $40,000 in a year and also a prodigy. I know how to write better than 99% of the people on Twitter. Most people on Twitter don't even know that you put a comma before a proper noun addressing an individual. It's pathetic. You must have Good Will Hunting on DVD. I've never even seen that movie. I get the reference. I know what he's talking about because I've seen snippets of the scene where I think it's Matt Damon is, I get it. He's a janitor or something at a school, and he saw a question on the board, and then he went in and answered the question because he spends all his time reading. And okay, whatever. It's like high schoolers' dream of like, well, I'm going to be so smart. That's not me. It's not me. Well, and except in the realm of storytelling. I know my way around a story. Speaking of people that know their way around a subject, I would argue that this might be one of the greatest comedians living today. Nick Mullen. It's a toss-up between Nick Mullen and Tim Dillon. I think Tim Dillon at this point has gotten a little bit of a filter in himself. He seemed a little less concerned with offending people back in the day. And I think as his fame and popularity has grown, he's started to self-censor. And I don't know that that's a conscious thing. I think it's just kind of happened. But from everything that I've seen with Nick Mullen, he's either has less of a censor or about the same as he did back in the Cumtown days. He does not care. He does. The only reason he won't say something is because it would stop him from continuing to say as many things as he can. So he's not going to throw out constant N-words. He would if he knew that it wouldn't get him completely deplatformed in today's climate. He absolutely would if he thought that it would make him laugh. He doesn't even really seem to care if other people chuckle along as long as he's laughing. And it doesn't matter, from what I can tell, who he steamrolls in the process. Did you want to get in there, Jackie? Because I know you've listened to a fair bit of Nick. Probably a lot more than me, actually.
Yeah, I think so. I was just going to say about Tim Dillon, it seems as though he is more a fan of the who's who in different scenes.
Yeah.
And Nick just wants to be able to do what he wants to do for as long as he can do it.
Yeah.
But
But
you should check him out if you haven't.
if you haven't, just go watch some Cumtown clips or, oh God.
And he's always about the bit. He doesn't. He's
Oh yeah.
He's an actual person, and he could probably talk to anybody. But if you're an idiot, he's gonna point it out.
Yes. Yeah. What was the one that I listened to multiple times? It was a clip. I'm trying to remember that I just kept on laughing.
I think it was from his most recent special.
No, it was a clip. There's the Rice president that's really good.
Was it from Cumtown or was it from Adam
It was
Thielen?
Cumtown.
I know you
there's
listened
just
to
so
the
many.
Joe Biden one a fair bit.
Yeah. The Rice president is right up there. There was one, it was multiple, I think it was maybe the Indian guys or something. His Indian impression is some good stuff. Just pull up some of his clips, the Cumtown clips. They're great. Anyways, talked about a subject that we talk about often here. Here we go.
Go back and give comics advice 10 years ago. If I could step out of a time machine, they'd say, like, what can I do to get, like a TV spot? I would just say, buy Bitcoin. Just buy. Just that's it. That's
Listen
what
here,
you should
Ruby.
be doing. There's no other. That's the best advice you could give anybody. But probably still now. It's funny how that's always been a thing where if you're an idiot and you look at Bitcoin, you're like, I should have bought it.
Yeah.
And then
He just says it right there. It's even good advice now. Probably even now, he's saying. Yes, it would have been better advice 10 years ago. Sure. Whoa. Yes, obviously. But it's even good advice now. It's like, boy, I'm an idiot and all these other things. It's totally that bell curve me. Like, just buy Bitcoin and shut the fuck up. Stop trying to get rich tomorrow with GameStop thing. See, here's what my biggest problem, and the reason that I am so fucking glad that Bitcoin is a slow grind up. So glad. Because I don't fucking know. I do not fucking have a goddamn clue what I would do if I had $100 million to my name tomorrow. That would not be a good place for me. That would be really, really, really fucking bad. I don't want to be in that position. I really fucking don't. I don't. Because I know what I've done with money. I know what I've done. I am not a responsible person with money. But Bitcoin forces me to be responsible. I don't have an option. I have to be. I can be somewhat irresponsible, I suppose, but it's forcing me to live a lifestyle that I am proud to live, whether I fucking like it or not. Could I sell all of the Bitcoin that I have and buy a bunch of cool things? Yes, I could. But given how many hours I've spent in Bitcoin, how many people I have heard say that have been in Bitcoin way longer than me, some of them from like the very early days, from the very first epoch, some of them from like the first and second year, have said, you will always regret the Bitcoin that you sold. These people saying this, I have always regretted the Bitcoin that I sold because it always goes up with a long enough time horizon. Always. Every 4 years, it is worth more. And the stuff that the 10 that I sold to buy this cool thing, I could have bought now with a quarter of one. Or even more extreme in some cases. You've probably seen the picture where some years ago, I think it's like 10 years ago, a home was 600 Bitcoin, an average home. Now, it's 6. What's it going to be in 10 years? A sixth of one? Will that buy you a home? And then what? And then do you buy a home or do you wait another 10 years? I don't know. Where I am at is I have a price in mind where it's not a dollar amount. I don't give a shit about that. Not really. I do because that's what other things mean in relation to all of this other stuff. But what I want is to be able to buy a 1,200 to 2,000-ish square foot home. A finished basement would be real nice. That'd be chef's kiss. I would really like that. Or a mother-in-law, something for guests, maybe to have other people stay, maybe to do an Airbnb type. Not exactly that. I don't want to fucking touch Airbnb, but that idea, rented out, vacation rental, I'm thinking more longer term. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. But having it as an option would be nice. Certainly for friends and family. At the very least, I'd love for a place for them to come by and visit. It needs to be outside of the city, but not so far outside of the city that it takes me 3 days to get to a city. Like, I don't want to be out in the fucking truly the boonies, but out a little ways of a real proper big city. And on a minimum of 2.5 acres. Minimum of 2.5 acres. If that's by a river or some water, oh, fuck me. That is the dream. And I have an amount of Bitcoin that I am willing to part with to make that happen. And I don't care if I could buy 1,000 times the amount 10 years later, because I won't have spent 10 years in that home building memories with my friends, with my family, the people that I care about, the people I love, doing all the things that you can do in 10 years. And you can do a lot of fucking cool stuff in 10 years. Let me tell you, I can look back 10 years and go, wow, I've done a lot of cool stuff. Holy shit. I've done so much stuff in 10 years. So if I had a place to call my own, a place to live, to build a family, etc., fuck me. I don't care what the price of Bitcoin is. I don't care if it's $10 trillion and you can buy half the moon at this point. I don't care. I don't care if I hadn't waited because of the value of time that I was able to spend at this place. That is what's important to me. And as people say that know anything about fucking money, that pay attention, it's what you can do with the money. It's what you can buy with the money. It's not how much it's worth. That's irrelevant.
Yeah, money's a tool.
Yeah, exactly. This kind of brings me back around to the point of having friends and family and a community. You should be a tool. You probably are. I certainly am. But what I mean is you should be an asset in that community. If you're the guy that knows radio stuff, communications, share that information. If you're the guy that knows gun stuff, share that information. Invite people out to the range, out to places, and teach them what you know. If you're the guy that knows vehicle stuff, you're a mechanic. That's a really fucking useful skill. Be the grease thumb for your community. Help them out. Teach them. If you've got a garage with a lift and you talk to people and, hey, do you need to do a change? Oh, yeah, you could go to the Grease Monkey or the Jiffy Lube and pay some college kid that read a book that he had to and watched a video and might fuck up your car because he put the wrong fucking thing in there and doesn't know. Or go to the 30-year master mechanic that's going to help you and show you exactly how to do it. And all it's going to take is some time in the parts. Hey, that's a pretty fucking sweet deal right there. If you're the person that knows the medical stuff, share that information. If you're the person that's a teacher and you've spent years educating people, start building a school with the children that are growing up in your community. Like, there's so many different things that people know. Share that information. Be an asset. Be a resource. Be a tool in that sense. Rounding things out, do fucking not be this kind of a tool. This kind of a tool loses $100 billion. And this harkens back to the M&Ters. I'm going to dunk on them in a second, because here, let's listen to what old fuckwit here has to say.
What we didn't anticipate is these rain bombs in December.
The rain bombs.
January, February, and March.
Tell me when he mentions the economists. Couldn't even predict that, or couldn't see that.
These atmospheric rivers that led to a federal declaration that led to FEMA and the IRS moving in a direction where we couldn't collect our taxes until, I believe, November 16th, as opposed to April 15th. And so therein lied this blackout period that beguiled all of us, the LAO, finance, economists, experts. And interestingly, I mean, there's been at the White House.
Okay, he says there, I don't have headphones on. Jackie's got them, or Janky set up here, but he says that even they couldn't have foreseen that. Harken back to Bustanomics 01, where we went over the MM-tier fuckwittery retards that they are.
We found the morons.
And how they were saying that inflation's a problem. Admittedly, we got to be careful about it, but we're going to have the economists monitoring all the things. You figure all that out before the vote. Could you have figured out the rain bombs? Could you have done that? Because if you've got your crack team of economists on this, and even they couldn't foresee that, and you lost $100 billion, what say you there? I imagine what they would say is, well, we didn't have control. That's probably the answer. Of course, you need more control. If only you had been in charge, because you're the smart one. No. We need to get the smart people out of office and let people just fucking go about their day. Just leave them alone. For fuck's sake. Or you could have some spicy ideas, like Mr. Mayor Adams here, who says migrants could fill NYC's lifeguard shortage. I didn't even know they had a lifeguard shortage. Okay, but all right. Because the migrants, are excellent swimmers. I thought this was a joke. I thought this was a satire. Like right here, Britt says, why does this read like a Babylon Bee headline? Yeah, that's nuts. I hope he actually said that. That's ridiculous. Closing things out today, we've got this concerning case. So Tornado Cash, from what I understand, I didn't know really anything about this, and it's something to do with Ethereum, which fuck Ethereum and all of those idiots. But with that said, apparently Tornado Cash was this thing built on Ethereum. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but part of it, maybe like layer 2 type thing that Bitcoin has with Lightning, something akin to that, I think. And there were these smart contracts, again, whatever the fuck that means, that were built. And apparently people could put money into this stuff, and then the contract was the thing that helped or handled distributing the money. So it wasn't the people. There was no actual people involved with doing this. It was the protocol. It was the smart contract that handled the distribution. And I don't know exactly how this all worked or when it was happening, but apparently, because some people were using this system for illegal purposes, the Tornado Cash people got hauled in, and I think were now just sentenced to, apparently, says here, where's my button? Developer of privacy tool sentenced to 5+ years in jail because someone used it for illegal purposes. Knife manufacturer sentenced because someone used it to kill someone. People, please open your eyes. Our privacy is being taken away step by step. Anita is a left-leaning person, but who fucking cares? She's into Bitcoin and likes Bitcoin and has been helping people and more people into Bitcoin. Hey, good stuff. I don't give a fuck what side of the aisle you're on. If you believe in sound money, hard money, then Good stuff. Right here from the Wired article, it says, it's all about the choices of our suspect. Mr. Borledge, the case's lead prosecutor, tells Wired in an interview, he made choices writing the code, deploying the code, adding features to the ecosystem. Choice after choice after choice, all while he knew that criminal money was entering his system. So it's not about code, it's about human behavior. Okay, so back to what Anita says about a knife manufacturer. Knife manufacturers certainly know that people get stabbed. Okay, does that mean you stop making knives? I could see this attorney here saying, well, that knife manufacturer doesn't know that the stabbers are going out and buying their brand of knife. If X knife was known as the knife to use for stabbing people, the number one knife, the only knife used for stabbing people, and they kept on making knives, it still doesn't matter, because you need to go, I mean, it does matter in the sense that you should maybe ask the question of like, why does everybody prefer X knife to stab people? What's going on there? That is interesting. What's that about? 100% of people that are stabbed with an X knife. Odd. What's that about? But you don't go to the developer, or maybe you do. Maybe you have a chat like, hey, it seems like everybody's using your X knives because fingerprints don't stick to them. It's impossible for fingerprints to stick to the handle. Could you consider changing that? But maybe the X knife makers go, we understand that there's an extremely small percentage of people that use our X knives to stab people, but our number one customer by far are fishermen. And the entire reason that they like our X knives, and the whole reason that we came up with the X coating on the knives, which, yes, it does prevent fingerprints, but it also prevents fish stink and guts and anything else sticking to it. And that's why fishermen like our knives so much, because there's no smell. They can go out and fish, they can gut a fish, and they can put that in their pocket, head home, and there's no smell on the knife. Hey, that seems like a pretty cool technology. And it's kind of a bummer that fingerprints don't stick to it, I guess, because now everybody's getting stabbed and blah, blah, blah with an X knife. But maybe you go and talk to murderers, or maybe there's a larger problem at hand here. My example there is an interesting one. I don't know what you do there. I guess you maybe, as if you're a company working in truly good faith, you go, you know what, guys? Can we make the non-stick coating allow for fingerprints to stick? Can we still stop the smells from sticking, but allow for fingerprints because of these reasons? I don't know. Even still, it doesn't matter, because the knife, I don't even know if you do that though. I really don't, because the knife stabber people are still going to go and find something else if you do that. Like they're going to use something. Maybe what you do is, I don't know. It's a silly thing to continue to think about because it's not real. I don't know what you do there, but I know what you don't do is put people in prison because you don't like that they made a thing that a criminal used. That's insane. Like Lynn Alden here says, criminalizing the mere development and publication of code is an ugly precedent. If published in a book or a blog, it would mean the book or blog is illegal, an illegal order of numbers and letters. Very different than actually using code maliciously. Yeah. The people that are using it maliciously are the ones that should be held accountable for doing the malicious bad thing, not the people that made the thing. Like, where does it stop? Do you go to the computer manufacturers? Oh, well, the code was written on this computer, so how can I be held accountable for writing the code because I was just using the MacBook? Shouldn't you go and talk to Apple? Go talk to Tim Cook. He made this computer that I used. Oh, and then Tim Cook goes, whoa, hey, oh, I couldn't have made the computer if it wasn't for the programmers. Go talk to Hashish and Bindal or whatever. I don't know, the people that are making the code. And then they go, whoa, you got to talk to my parents. Hang on, you see where this is fucking going. And somewhere, oh, you got to talk to the miners, or you got to talk to my parents, or you got to talk to this person. You got to talk to the person that figured out metal. You got to talk to the guy that invented aluminum. Like, stop, fucking stop. Talk to the person that did the illegal deed. That's who you talk to. That's who you hold accountable. You don't go following the rabbit trail down the line because you don't like this technology. That's what this is really about here. It's not stopping the criminal. It's stopping a tool for privacy. That's what they want to stop. Come on. Let's be realistic here. Got a story for you. I'm going to round things out here with this story. There's a family member of mine who has an old relative, and he is in a care facility. Easter was recent, and part of Easter he was given some chocolate. He got a little chocolate rabbit, and the other old people got these chocolate rabbits. I don't know where they came from. Doesn't really matter. And he had his, because he's not a huge fan of this type of chocolate, apparently, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. He hadn't eaten his, and it was sitting on his chair table. He's got a chair that he sits in when he's in the main room with everybody else. There's only a handful of people at this place. And so he's got his chair and his little side table there. And he had his chocolate rabbit sitting there. And apparently, one of the other residents, we'll call him Bob, either really wanted the chocolate or it bothered him that the I don't know, what do we call him? We'll call him Steve. Steve here hadn't eaten his chocolate. So Bob was like, "Hey, Steve, why don't you eat your rabbit?" And Steve goes, I don't want to. I'm not interested. I just want to leave it there. "Nah, you should eat your chocolate rabbit." "I don't want to, Bob. I just want to leave it here." "Nah, well, I don't understand. You had it there since Easter, and you should eat it." "Okay, Bob, I've heard you, and I don't want to eat it." Well, come last week or so, recent-ish, there was either, and I'm unclear on because I heard this from a person who got it from somebody else. Anyhow, either the whole rabbit was gone, had clearly been disposed of or eaten, was missing, or, and I think this is worse if this is the case, and I got two versions of the story. Like I said, unclear. The ears had been bitten off, clearly gone, bitten off. That's worse to me. That's because if it's just gone, then we don't know what happened to it. Maybe eaten, maybe Bob ate it. Sure, maybe one of the nurses like, "All right, this whole Bob Steve chocolate rabbit thing, bunny thing's got to stop. I'm just going to throw it away. I'm done." That's possible. But if there was a bite out of it, it seems more likely that Bob, who had shown so much interest in it, had done that. Whatever the case is, totally gone bunny, partially eaten bunny. Which you could say, well, a nurse could have taken a bite out of it too to start some drama. Yeah, maybe. And fuck that person if that's what happened. That's really fucking shady and stupid. Extra petty. Like that's real slimy. But that possible scenario aside, Steve was upset because the bunny was gone, eaten, and when I heard the story, I said, yeah, I'll bet. This guy, he's in his 90s. He's in a nursing home, like a care facility. He doesn't have much control over his life. He doesn't get to go and do whatever he wants whenever he would like to, like most of the people I imagine watching this channel. If you want to get up and walk outside, you probably can. You're probably totally able to. Do you take that for granted? I bet you do. I do. Steve can't do that. Steve is somewhat medically prevented from doing that. He can get around to some degree, I believe. I'm not sure where he's at these days. It seems like every time I hear about him, he's in a worse state of health. It ebbs and flows. But it's not great. He's not a spry young 25-year-old that is a master gymnast and bing bong boom parkouring all over the place. No, not in the slightest. And so when I heard this, I thought that was one area, one fucking small area where he had some control, some modicum of power, and it was stripped away from him. That's fucked up. That is super fucked up. Assuming it wasn't the nurse just mindlessly throwing it away. But the best case scenario, as far as I can tell, is the nurse wasn't even aware of this. It's like, oh, it's just a cleaner person, not even a nurse, just some person's like, oh, I'm cleaning up, sees this chocolate bunny there. It's like, well, this is kind of, it's got some of those dry, the lighter marks. Oh, this is kind of gross. And clearly this is an Easter treat, and we're almost 2 months away from that. So let's get rid of this. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is Bob taking a bite and going, yeah, fuck you, Steve. I get to do what I want. That's super fucked up. Or it's either that or the nurse doing it to start something. I don't know which one's worse. Probably that one, the instigator. Anyhow, the reason I'm ending this here is if you have a small amount of power, cherish it. Be glad that you do. If that's power over your own Bitcoin, that is a wonderful power to have. If you have power over your family because you're the man of the household, don't fucking abuse that power. If you have some power at work, don't abuse your employees. Be glad that you have this power, but don't be a fucking dickhead about it. Be an asset to whatever that community is, however small it is, even if it's just you and a roommate. Be a good one. Yeah, that's it.